everybody, I'm Aaron Simmons. This is Philosophy for Where We Find Ourselves, January 22nd, 2024. Today, over on my Substack, I published a new essay, which is a series I do on Mondays called Music Mondays. Today, I looked philosophically at the band Cattle Decapitation. Now, it's an extreme metal band, probably not all of your tastes, but it's something I really love. And I was able to unpack some of their lyrics and their music in a way that spoke to the centrality of an environmental ethic at the heart of their work. I hope you check it out, link in the description. But here's the thought. As I wrote that essay, I didn't talk about the phenomenological conditions by which experiencing music at all is possible. And so that's what I thought I'd do here on this video today. I'm sitting behind my drum set because when we think about music, let me ask you, how is it that we experience it? How is it that we understand music to be music? Well, at some level, you've probably had this occur when you're flipping through the music stations, right? And you land on a music station and you can't quite decide, what is this? What's going on? Is this a song I like? Because we don't have the right context. We don't have what came before and an expectation of what's coming after. Even think about another experience we've probably had where we listen to a song and we think it's kind of mediocre, but then we hear it and hear it and hear it over and over and over and eventually really come to like it. This is the idea that our expectations have now caught up with the experience such that when we hear the song, we are hearing it as this whole piece rather than just discrete notes on that first listening. Now, this is actually tapping into a philosophical idea developed by the father of phenomenology, Edmund Husserl. He says that phenomenology is basically the philosophical look at the way experience is a lived thing. In other words, it inquires into appearance as presented to our consciousness and experienced in a first personal mode. So when I experience music, let's think about it. What am I actually hearing? I'm only ever hearing an individual note, an individual word, an individual slice of something that we call a song. Under what conditions can I make sense of that as meaningful? Well, only if I have a broader phenomenological or lived experience of it as more than just a slice. Well, how's that possible? All I'm ever experiencing is what's happening now. Well, think about it. Even the sentence I just said is itself something that only is meaningful in human language because you retain the words that have been spoken and anticipate, the better you are at the language, the words yet to come. In this way, the internal theory of time consciousness that Husserl provides is a really helpful way of making sense of the conditions under which experiencing music is possible as a meaningful and joyful experience. He says that retention, this memory facet, and protension, the expectation facet, come together such that when I hear music or hear a sentence or even experience the world at all, I do so in a temporal way. He calls this a horizon. All of our experiences are only signaling to us against horizons, both spatially and temporally. And then eventually, in his thought, they will also signify in a kind of socio-cultural horizon as well. So think about the following. The other day I was in class and I said to my students, make sense of the following statement and tell me what's going on. So I started. It. And of course, they all looked at me as if I was just nuts. And I said, it was. They continued to not know what was happening. And I said, it was all a dream. And immediately, Peter, one of my students in the class, jumped up and said, I used to read Word Up magazine. Now, you may not be familiar with Notorious B.I.G., but Biggie has the opening of a song It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. And the fact that that phrase was something that triggered in Peter's consciousness, he heard it was all a dream as anticipating the second bar, the second phrase. But until we had enough context, the triggering doesn't occur. We can't anticipate unless we have enough retention, enough memory in place. This is why, if you like films like Memento, where it looks at what happens to our sense of self if we don't retain our memory of selfhood. This becomes complicated. 50 First Dates, the Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler film, explores the same idea. Who are we? Who am I as a first personal experiencer of the world? Who am I if I can't retain the sense of myself having experienced in order to project and anticipate and be able to expect what's coming next? This is how language works, and this is how music functions. For Husserl, internal time consciousness is a microcosm of the way that conscious lived experience happens in a first personal mode. We make sense of the world, we experience the world ourselves as me, because I'm bringing to every experience a archive, a host of things that make it intelligible. But the more intelligibility I take in, the better I get at anticipating what's coming next. Ultimately, one of the great things about music are those artists that are able to surprise us by mixing up chord progressions, landing the setup and punchline in a rap bar in a way that we didn't expect the punchline. And that's normally, right, you'll hear people listening to music, when that happens, they're all like, oh, shoot, because what landed denied the expectation. But the fact that it went against our expectation is itself something we can make sense of as intelligible, because we also bring to that experience, that moment, a background condition whereby simply meeting expectations is not actually something to applaud, but going beyond, being original, being innovative is something that we celebrate. So in this way, retention, protension, memory, anticipation, experience as temporally horizontal. We make sense of the world because we bring meaning with us in order to make meaning now, but our experience of what's meaningful is already contextually opened onto where it is we're going in a future that is now made meaningful by our conscious engagement, our lived experience with the world. That's what makes music possible as awesome as the way that it functions, and why it's something that we listen to so deeply, why it can change our mood, impact us so greatly. So today, turn on some music, whether cattle decap or not, and as you listen, think about the way that you need to keep in play what just was heard, those notes, in order to anticipate and then find joy in where it's going. Our life works this way more broadly, but as a microcosm, Husserl's theory of internal time consciousness and music really are a really amazing, cool way of illuminating something that is quite deep in human experience. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to check out my Substack. If you want to reach out to me, please do. As always, drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about the videos I'm producing so that we can make this a community venture, thinking together about stuff that matters. All right, I'll see you next time, unless a piano falls on our heads.